Hi, my name is Mair and I'm doing a series of videos for Outside. I'm an outside tutor and I work with Emma, Donna and Hayley on the Outcasts podcast that we do about autism and autistic life. Today, I'm going to be talking about mental health crisis kits. So a lot of autistic people have comorbid or coexisting mental health problems that can be in varying degrees of severity. We often have a lot of anxiety, depression are very common, and self-harm is very common as well. And I'm going to talk about what's in my crisis kit and potentially give you guys some ideas about what to put in your own or your child's crisis kit. Now this is my crisis kit. It's quite full, so I can't actually close it very well. It's got pretty patterns on it and I've got a big sign to remind me. So there's a lot of stuff in here, so I'm going to run through that really quickly. So I've got a lot of stim toys, so I've got a stress ball here. It's got a smiley face on it, and this was given to me by a teacher that helped me a lot in school, so it has some sentimental value as well. Another stim toy, and I have a packet of tissues. Obviously, if you're in crisis or you're not feeling great, then a packet of tissues is always very helpful. I have smelling salts and bath salts in here, so I like having a bath. Sometimes it doesn't fix everything, but it's quite nice to sit in the bath as a distraction, and also it smells nice, so it's a bit of a sensory kind of input. Tea bags. It's tea, it's helpful in some cases it's not, but I always find it's quite a nice, making a cup of tea is a quite nice distraction when you're not feeling great, and obviously tea is always good. Sparkly smiley stickers. These are in here, I don't know, just because they're sparkly and they're smiley, and I don't know, I remember when we were in school, it always used to be like everyone wanted the sparkly smiley stickers, so it's kind of a bit of a hark back to those times. I've got some self-care stuff in here, so I've got hand cream and face mask, because you can often forget when you're not feeling great to kind of look after yourself, and I think it's really important that you have a reminder that you need to look after yourself when you're not feeling great. And it's something to do as well, something to keep you distracted. I have this little tin, and it's a mint tin, but actually what it really is that my uncle gave this to me a couple of years ago, and he's quite a good artist, so he's put a little boat and a picture in there. And I really like this, partly because it reminds me of family and the sentimental value of that, but also because I really like the sea. So it's like a little big piece of the sea in a box that I can keep at home. I've got an eye mask in here. You know, sometimes mental health crisis can be triggered by kind of too much sensory input. So it's always worth having ways of managing the sensory input. So an eye mask, if I'm getting too much kind of light into my eyes, or if I'm struggling to sleep, an eye mask is always helpful. Heat pack. I quite like the sensation of these. I quite like thinking about it. I find it quite, if I can focus on the sensation of a heat pack, it tends to reduce the other external kind of things that I'm thinking about. Nail polish, again, this is about self-care, so it goes with those things, the face mask and the hand cream. I've got pens and pencils and a colouring book. Where are my pencils? So colouring pencils and a colouring book. I find colouring really helpful when I can't really do anything more or higher level tasks, so if I can't read, or I'm struggling to do anything that's particularly requires any mental effort, colouring I find is really good to keep my hands busy and keep me focused, and I just find it quite relaxing and soothing. So there's lots of different ones in here that kind of, if I can sit down and do that, it helps me a lot. I've got lots of quotes on cards that I made, and I know quotes can sometimes be a bit kind of cheesy and stuff, but sometimes it can be helpful just to read these and have a different perspective on certain things. So if you can read that, it's nothing big, but it's something to read, and it's about putting a positive spin on something that might be quite difficult, or just accepting that this is how life is sometimes. More smelling stuff. So you'll notice there's a lot of sensory stuff in here. So I find engaging in sensory activities really helpful when I'm not feeling great, partly because it's distraction and partly because it helps with sensory regulation, which might help to reduce the anxiety. To go alongside a colouring book, I have a notebook with lines and pens so that I can write. I find writing, if I'm in crisis, for example, I find it quite difficult to speak in order to communicate, and my brain will be really fuzzy and unclear, and I find that writing can sometimes help make kind of clear up what I'm trying to think and help me process what's going on, and it's a helpful way of communicating if I can't speak. Another little sentimental thing, I have horses, and I've had horses for a long time, and horses are really important to who I am and what I do, and so I've got a little keychain with little pictures of me and my horse competing. We don't compete anymore, but I think it's really important for me to be able to see that and remind me that he's there, and that I'm responsible for him, and that I can go and see him when I need to. I've got counting beads in here. It's actually a bracelet, but I quite like the kind of thing of counting them and running them through my fingers. It's a bit sensory, but also if I'm counting them, it's quite a good way of focusing on something that doesn't require too much effort, but it's enough effort to keep me focused on a particular thing. The beads are little skulls. I don't know what that says about me. I probably shouldn't read into that too much. And I've got another bracelet here that my friend gave me several years ago now, and I quite like the feeling of it. I've got badges. So I've got a badge here that makes me laugh. It's Shakespearean insults. So thou smell of a mountain goat. It reminds me of my friends. Not because my friends smell of mountain goats, but because we were getting them together in Stratford upon Avon. And I have two badges here that if I need to use them, or if I need to communicate something to someone, these are really useful badges. I recommend getting these type of things because they've become really handy for me. So this one says, I need some time alone, so that if I can't say that to someone, I can show them the badge. And this one says, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Again, if I can't say it to someone, then it's a really good way of being able to still communicate. And I have lots of cards and letters from friends and family that I've received over the years, when I was in hospital, or when I've been particularly unwell, or when friends have been doing amazing stuff. So for example, this is from a friend who was in Australia for a year, and she sent me this. I really like reading back through these because they help to remind me that there are people that love me and that I love and I care about, and I think that's really important. If you're in a particularly difficult spot, you can often forget those things, or forget the importance of those things, and so I find it really key to have these things in my crisis kit. packet of hot chocolate. There's usually a chocolate bar in here, but I ate it because I was hungry. Because chocolate's always good, unless you're allergic, but chocolate's always good. I have got a thing of Rescue Remedy in here. Sometimes I try and take Rescue Remedy before I move on to more kind of heavy duty medication. So I do have diazepam, which I'll use when I need to, but I try and avoid it. And Rescue Remedy I find sometimes helps, but sometimes doesn't. So it depends on what's happening. Elastic band, again, I find it quite good to play with. Keeps my fingers occupied, and again, the noise is quite a bit of a sensory input. I've got a packet of flower seeds. Now the flower seeds, I probably wouldn't plant these, but I really like gardening, and gardening is really important to my mental health and to staying well. And so the seeds are in here to remind me to go out into the garden, and even if I can't do much, to at least pick up some weeds or plant something, just to keep myself busy and get outside and get some fresh air. I also have a badge for one of the charities that I work with. So I'm actually chair of trustees for Habal, a mental health charity, and I have this in my box because it helps me to remember my responsibilities and also about the work that I really care about. I love working with Habal. I think it's an extraordinary organisation, and I'm extremely proud to be a small part of that. So keeping it in my crisis kit helps me remember that, and helps me to remember that that is an important part of my life. This may be one of probably the best things that I have in my crisis kit, and probably one of the best books that I've bought in the last couple of years. It's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And it's extraordinarily, it's not a difficult read. It's literally just beautiful drawings and little quotes. But it's really profound. It's really profound in the stuff that you kind of can get from it by reading through it, and I've kind of marked some of the pages that are important to me. So this one reads, "One of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things." It's a fantastic book, and I really like it, and it really helps me when I'm not feeling great, and because it's not too much reading, I can still engage in it. It's by Charlie Mackesy, so I recommend that. I've got a picture of me and my brother. Believe it or not, I do like my brother. It's about reminding me of my family and who I care about, and my family are, they're my family, what else can I say? And the last couple of things, I've got 2 pieces of paper. So the first one is lists of things that help me that I can't put in the box. So I've got a list of happy songs, a list of recipes that I like to cook, activities that I like to do, and films that I like to watch. So this just reminds me of all the other stuff that wouldn't fit in the box otherwise, but also really help me during a time of crisis or any kind of distress. So example, in activities is take the dog for a walk or go for a sea swim. Now I can't put the sea in my box, but I've been able to negate that by putting lists of stuff that help me. The last thing is a bit of it's not particularly kind of about helping me helping myself during a time of crisis, but it's my advance directive. So sometimes when I'm in crisis, sometimes things happen, like I end up in hospital, or I end up under the crisis team, or I just see my mental health team more and things like that. And what my advance directive does is ensure that if I can't communicate what I want during that time, or what's important to me during that time, that my advance directive does. So for example, one of the things on here is that no antidepressants or antipsychotics unless all other options have been unsuccessful. So I've tried lots of antidepressants and antipsychotics in the past, and they've made me even more ill. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that I don't want to take those medications unless it's absolutely necessary. Now, if I'm in crisis, I may not be able to express that verbally. And so I find it really important that I have this so that I can pass it over and still communicate my wants and needs to professionals. So that's what's actually in my box. There's a lot of stuff here, and I hope it gives you a bit of an idea of what to put in your own box if you want one. I have a few other stuff. So as you can see, I have a huge amount of box sets of different things. So this one is Scrubs. I've got Friends, House, Red Dwarf, and I've got other box sets as well. So I really like watching the same stuff over and over again on telly, particularly US sitcoms. Don't ask me why, I have no idea. But I find that if I can put these on, my mind starts to calm down a bit, because I know what's going to happen. They're predictable, and I know the script, so I can kind of preempt what's going to happen, and it helps me deal with the uncertainty that comes across me when I'm in crisis or I'm in distress. The last thing, hold on a second. Are my teddies. Now, I am 23 years old and I still sleep with teddies, and I'm completely okay with that. I have a huge sentimental value. These have huge sentimental value for me. Can't sleep with them without them. And I find they're really important to being able to cope with my life and the stress that may come up because I'm autistic or because the world doesn't accept autism. They are the one constant thing that's there, and that I rely on. And so if you're yourself or the person you're caring for has teddies, they're really important. And I know several other autistic people who rely on their teddies as well. So that's what I'm going to say for today. The reason I have the box is because when you're in crisis or in distress, it can be hard to remember what to do. So having it all in one place, so all you have to remember is to get the box out, it makes it a lot easier to start to engage in activities that are going to help. And it can be, even just creating the box can be quite a fun process, and it can be quite a distracting process from all the stuff that's going on in your life. So I recommend that everyone has a crisis kit, even if they don't necessarily go into what they may consider a full mental health crisis. It's about managing difficult emotions and building up tools to help yourself during those difficult emotions. I hope that's been helpful to everyone, and I wish you all the best, and I'll speak to you next week.